you know, he picked the wrong family, and not scared of a conflict, and we're not scared. We're not running. We're coming at him.
Hey guys, welcome to the think tank. Well, I just took a peek and it looks like the verdict has been reached for, I think it said it's Marisela Botello. So just kind of hanging on here for them to speak up. I'm doing well, Dandy. How are you doing, friend? Getting your shopping done? I thought I'd bring this up real fast. I hadn't been following it, but y'all know I've been dealing with some family stuff. So I thought, well, this might be something for us to get together and talk about. There's been a little bit come out on Richard Allen. Well, I guess more Fran Gull than anything else. It sounds like a couple of things have been, well, let's put it this way. Richard Allen has finally been moved. So let's start with that. There also sounds like they might have some form of hearing to decide whether or not she goes and the lawyers stay. Let's see here. Let me see. I'll just set this up for us properly. Dun, 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 dun. So are y'all ready for Christmas? Everything you need? And I think we'll do this. No shopping for me. Nope. Yeah, I think I'm going to, I don't think I'm going to be home this year either for Christmas. So I'm not quite sure. There's no tree up. There's no gifts wrapped. There's nothing. Hubby enjoys his Christmas, but I just, no time this year so far. So what do you guys know about this case? Very much? Let me see here. Day 6, woman accused of deleting Marisela Botello. 3 people, Lisa Dykes, Nina Morano, and Charles Beltran were originally charged with the M in Botello's passing. Dykes was indicted in June. Let's see here. So according to the arrest warrant obtained by NBC, Dallas police have said that Botello had flown to Dallas from Seattle to visit a friend back in October 2020. Botello's family said she was last seen leaving the Deep Alum Bar on October 5th, 2020. Her remains sadly were found about 6 months later in a wooded area near Wilmer. Wowza. It just never stops, does it, friends? Just never stops. Okay, let me see here. I don't want to miss this for y'all. 3 people, Lisa Dykes, Nina Morano, and Charles Beltran, were originally charged. Dykes was indicted in June 2021 by a Dallas County grand jury, along with Morano and Beltran, who was a person of interest in the case early on. Morano and Dykes were arrested in Florida, and Beltran was taken into custody in Utah. Wow. This is always the hardest part. Hello there, Mexi. This is always the hardest part, waiting for their appearance. Come on, come on, come on. Looks like everyone was ready. Okay, do I have the volume on for this? I do. And I'll pop over here. On Friday, when was this? I think this was just this was yesterday. On Friday, the Dallas County District Attorney's Office filed motions to dismiss prosecution against Nina Morano and Charles Beltran in the interest of justice, dropping the M charges against them. Those documents were released Monday morning. The Dallas County DA's office has not said why they asked for the charges to be dropped. Do you guys know about that? What? Wow. State of Texas. Oh, another one of those. Do not read. You've already had your free trial. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see here. What else I can find? Well, here it says Lisa Dykes guilty of M, tampering with evidence. After 7 days of testimony, a Dallas jury found Lisa Dykes guilty of M, of the 23-year-old Marisela Botello, and tampering with evidence. Oh. Looky, looky. Looky, looky. So, Dallas, after 7 days of testimony, they found Lisa Dykes guilty of M. The jury came to a decision after 90 minutes of deliberations. The punishment phase began immediately after the verdict was read. The 23-year-old Botello was visiting Dallas from Seattle when she disappeared on a night out in Deep Ellum. Prosecutors say Dyke deleted Botello after seeing her in bed with her rapper boyfriend, Charles Beltran. Ooh, 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 ooh. SCX, substances and rock and roll. So Marisela Botello deserved better than to be photographed in a Dallas County courtroom, prosecutors said. The defense team took issue with the investigation into the M. Defense attorney Heath Harrison argued that the physical evidence does not fit the prosecution's story of events. Men lie, women lie. Physical evidence does not lie, is something that Harris said during the closing statement. Beltran claimed that he was in a three-way relationship with Dykes and her wife, Nina Morano. Dykes claims on the stand that he did not have a relationship with Beltran. In closing arguments, prosecutors read messages shared between Beltran and Dykes. Prosecutors tried to paint Dykes as a gold digger who used Marano for money and changed her appearance to appeal to Beltran. What is this guy? Magic? Still nothing, honey. Oh my. So Dykes took the stand in her own defense on Tuesday afternoon, denying claims that she had attacked Botello. Testimony from Beltran and others claimed that Dykes was Beltran's sugar mama. But Dykes said the relationship was not sex, UAL, and that she was just investing in his rap career. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, Dykes said on Tuesday. Dykes denied having any kind of interaction with Botello. Oh, another one of these stories, eh? Who's the villain? Which one? Let's see what I can find here. All right. So last week, Beltran told the jury he was asleep with Botello in the Mesquite home he shared with Dykes when Dykes attacked Botello with something pointy. The 23-year-old's body was not found for months. Prosecutors said GPS phone tracking places Dykes and Marano in the area of Wilmer where Botello's body was found. Dykes claims that she and Marano were at a FedEx distribution center in nearby Hutchins. Wowza. After being arrested, Marano and Dykes disabled their ankle monitors and escaped to Cambodia, where every well-versed criminal heads. Hey there, James. Good to see you, friend. Oh, my word. Wowza. They went to Cambodia. On the stand, Dykes said that the couple felt persecuted. Cambodia was a good place for us to find a new life for us to live, she had said. Yeah, Cambodia. Beltran and Marano had their M charges dropped in the case. They are still charged with tampering with evidence. So I'm not quite sure how all that works. Oh, I appreciate that, James. Thank you very much, friend. Thank you, thank you. It's been a rough go, but we got this. I appreciate all the patience. I just have not been able to stream. I'm not getting any kind of secure internet here at home right now. There's something wrong with one of the wires. And at my dad's, well, I have no idea how they got that thing rigged up. And I can't find a password to save my soul. So it's been hit and miss. I wonder if this is kind of acting up. Oh, there's a desert rose. Do you guys have, we call them, well, in Canada, they're called Alberta. Well, I suppose it would be in Alberta. They call Alberta rose. They're the little pink wild ones that the bears find so yummy. What do you got? I was worried I wasn't going to make this for you guys, but it looks like I had no fear. What else have we got? Let's take a look. There, okay, or Lizzie. Lizzie. Oh, here's an introduction. Lesbian couple on the run after being accused of M. Good Lord. Any way to hit the headlines, right? Because that relationship is definitely the most important part. What? What? Sounds like it may have been part of the kettle of fish that got everyone into trouble, but at the same time, I highly doubt that was the reason for this. Sick puppies can blame anything, right? Still waiting. After deliberating for about 2 hours today, a Dallas County jury found Lisa Dykes guilty of M in the passing of 23-year-old Marisela Botello. Dykes was also found guilty of a second charge, tampering with a corpse. The sentencing phase of the trial began immediately after the verdict was read. Dykes to life in prison for Botello's M. Oh, so today would be day 7, I see. So day 7 of the trial, which began Wednesday morning with Dykes back on the stand. In her defense, the defense rested mid-morning, and after closing arguments, the jury was handed the case shortly before noon. After deliberating for about 2 hours, they announced they'd reached a unanimous verdict. According to an arrest warrant obtained by NBC 5, Dallas police said Botello traveled to Dallas from Seattle back in October, and her remains were found about 6 months later near Wilmer. 3 people, Lisa Dykes, Nina Morano, Charles Beltran, were the 3 originally charged. Dykes was indicted in June 2021. Morano and Dykes were arrested in Florida, and Beltran was taken into custody in Utah. On Friday, the Dallas County District Attorney's Office filed motions to dismiss prosecution against Nina Morano and Charles Beltran in the interest of justice, dropping the M charges against them. Those documents were released Monday morning. The Dallas County DA's office has not said why the charges were dropped. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Why were those dropped? Do we know? Like, I'm not quite sure. And are they were they dropped without prejudice, possibly? Sorry. Cruz didn't get the DP. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think it could have had something to do with his age, possibly? So they're in recess. I didn't jump on in time to see how long. It's usually only 15, 20 minutes, right? I'll keep a watch over here for us. Charges dropped against 2 of the defendants. Wow. How do they start with 3 and get 1? Very, very pretty girl. May she rest in peace. There's some movement in the courtroom. So let's hope that we're going to get something soon here. I was afraid I was going to be late. So obviously, I guess I haven't talked about this yet. The 24 days of Christmas. I have had to stop, guys. I feel bad. I made you guys a promise that I was going to do this, but there has just been absolutely no possible way for me to do it. Maybe I'll be able to make up for it next Christmas for you guys. But I hadn't talked about that, so I thought, well, I had best. Thank you very much. Yes, life has happened. That it has. I like that. We all just gift each other something for 13 days. Thank you for that, James. I agree 1000%. Oh, you got Gizmo on there. Let me see if I can I can find anything else while we're waiting. Verdict reached. Pretty damn fast. So have you guys followed this? Have you guys been following this? Oh, did you? How was it? Was it good? He was pretty much a sick-ish, wasn't he? Oh. They didn't show anything new, but they showed his caches. Scary that this man took the time to go around the US and drop them around random. Well, probably not random to him, but random for anyone who might try to find ones that he's left. Okay, let's see here. March 24th, 2021, Marano was arrested in Miami, and on March 26th, 2021, Dykes was arrested in Orlando. April 2nd, 2021, third suspect, Charles Beltran, was arrested in West Jordan, Florida. And we do know that they asked for them to dismiss the charges, and they did. I'm looking forward to hearing what that's all about. Okay, I think. Most of the stuff is older again. Oh, so random and so prepared. Exactly. Random for the rest of us, right? I agree with that 1000%, James. 1000%. Yes, he did. Didn't Keys get caught using the bank cards? So maybe not as smart as he thought he was. Yes, he did. Yeah. After listening to it, I did walk away knowing that Israel Keys terrifies me. Yeah, he was one scary piece of shit, wasn't he? You know, unreal. It just, I can't come up with friendly names right now. No, they're all curses that are making, with all of these people, all them all. I'm not quite sure with this case how 3 were charged, 2 get off, and 1 catches the rap. That always confuses me. Yes, he was that. He was a predator. 1000%. One of the scarier predators. Did you see him when he went through that window of that food shack? Ho, 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 ho. And then he took a picture of that poor kid unalive and sent it to them as proof of life with a newspaper. Yeah, he's a creep. Was a creep. He was methodical. And I don't know if it ever came out how many actual caches he had. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you hear about them carting them around in their vehicles, but you don't hear, I don't know if anyone off the top of my head that's gone around staffing like he did. The carriage trial. I'm not familiar with that one right now either, friend. I'm way out of the loop. Mm. I'm listening to those barks. Jasmine's got a certain tone to her when there's deer in the backyard. Oh, okay. Okay. Ganja, snow, bikers, birds. Yeah, anything within a mile of what she believes is her home. It's all ours, don't you know? Okay, I'll see if there's anything else that I can talk about on this one until, but most of it's older. Yeah, the one you and I were talking about, Mexi, that was pretty sick, wasn't it? Hmm. Let's go over here. Or how about over there? Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna have to check it out. Well, I actually thought that I was saying this earlier, I was pretty much sure I was going to miss this. The great state of Texas. I do enjoy some of their ways of dealing with the bad guys, I must say. James, gotta watch those edibles, mister. What is this blonde lady whose head she the only one that has to work through all this? So, is there any other cases that I have been slacking on while I've been away from home? Oh, yes. Is it too late to bring the posse system back into the great state of Texas? I say, hell no. Bring it on in. Yes, Crystal Rogers, a new arrest. That's right. That's right. The fellow that was working for, yeah, the handyman, right? Because they had just arrested the handyman's son here a little bit ago, maybe a month or so ago. You knew this guy was coming. You know, when you called me there that night around midnight, I can't remember. What did you say to me? Oh. Well, and then what did you say after that? Oh my God, he's not a good actor. Brooks. Locked up for bad acting. Okay, let's see here. Dallas County District Attorney's Office spokesperson did not respond to a call or email Monday about why they dropped the charges against Nina Morano and Charles Anthony Beltran. Do you guys have any ideas what that could be about? Yes, the father to the other guy that got arrested. Absolutely. No! Oh, and apparently the a-hole shooter from Uvalde, Texas, had himself a girlfriend, and that dum-dum just got arrested for threatening the city. And it continues. Hey there, Tracy. Allegedly, it's because some of the cops somewhere lost a whole bunch of evidence. So the only thing they can prove by witnesses is that Lisa did the deed. Ah, yes, serious. And the other two helped clean up, but I don't know how true that is. So did they do it with prejudice? Will they be able to charge them again if more information comes out? Hey, Perry. Just catching up on the case. It's absolutely nuts. Yeah, you know what? I'm just kind of getting educated on it. Oh, right. Yeah. How, as it does, it just disappears. And it would never be a cop that took it out. Never. Yeah, it's questionable, isn't it, Dandy? Okay. Okay. So they could possibly go after them. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And Day 7. I have to kind of pause it out a little bit every once in a while, or I get gaga. $213, so so I literally have no idea. I didn't catch it. Okay, 1 hour ago. You didn't think they were on recess. It feels more like a lunch. They've been gone a bit. So this was what, 8 and a 7-day trial, not including the jury search. Only 2 hours of deliberation. That is unreal. So I'm not seeing any other sentencing, even if they helped clean up. Shouldn't they get something? Up to life in prison. Six months to find this poor girl. I just think it's sad that if there's more than just one responsible, that other ones get out of it. It just doesn't feel right to me in any way, shape, or form. But other than that, without going through the case daily, that's basically where we're at right now. On day 1, the victim's mother and Adela's friend testified. Day 2, a friend of hers testified. Day 3, anonymous girlfriend testified. Day 4, man charged with Marisela Botello's M takes the stand. On the 5th day, Marisela Botello's M trial continued. Charges dropped against 2 defendants. And day 6, woman accused of deleting, I think it's Marisela Botello takes the stand on the 6th day. Jazzy Mom. Jazzy's out there yelling at the world. I had to mute us. Okay, what have I got here? Take a look at this for a moment. Thanks for that.
After an injury or illness, occupational therapy can
Okay, we'll take a look at this and see if it'll keep us a little bit entertained until they come. Come on. Till they come and tell us what the hell's going on. It's just terrifying to me. Why would anybody put themselves in this kind of position? Oh my God, this world.
You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court has received your jury verdicts. All right. Ms. Dykes, please stand.
Hey, she looks like Kaylee's mom. Kaylee Goncalves.
The jury verdicts read as follows. We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. For the second case, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the indictment. Both verdicts are signed by the presiding juror, and the name is also printed. You may be seated.
Damn, just like that, eh? Just like that. 2 hours. She's 60 years old. On Tuesday and then on Wednesday morning, Dykes stared down the Dallas County jury that decided her fate from the witness stand, testifying that didn't know Botello Valadez and that her cell phone was pinged near the location where Botello Valadez body was discarded because she was picking up a package at a nearby FedEx distribution center. Yeah. Prosecutors said that Dykes used a weapon on Botello Valadez to her death in October of 2020 after she found Botello Valadez in bed with Charles Beltran after the pair met following a night out in Deep Ellum. Authorities say that Dykes and her partner Nina Morano were in a three-way relationship with Beltran. Dykes, however, said that on the stand on Tuesday that Beltran was only a business associate of hers and that their interests had gone sideways. Botello Valadez was visiting Dallas from Texas and went missing after meeting Beltran at Deep Ellum. Wow.
We are also closely monitoring the Lisa Dykes trial, where she is back on the stand today. She is charged with stabbing a woman in a jealous rage. Our Megan Mitchell is following the trial and joins us with the latest. Megan?
Yeah, hey, Tashara. So the defendant, Lisa Dykes, was back on the stand today, getting questioned by both lawyers. And so far, we've learned a bit more about the context, about Lisa Dykes' relationships to the many people involved in this case, including some of her co-defendants. Now, here is a live look. This is at closing arguments right now. And this is a case that's been going on for about a week now. Marisela Botello was missing during a night out.
Oh, look at how pretty she is and so young. Jesus. And a 60-year-old decided to murk her. Like, what the hell?
Deep Ellum while visiting from Seattle in 2020. Prosecutors say Dykes stabbed her after she found the 23-year-old in bed with Charles Beltran. They say Dykes and her wife, Nina Morano, were there in a three-way relationship with him. Dykes said he was only a business interest. Well, on a stand yesterday, she also denied everything. Beltran and Morano are no longer facing murder charges in this case. The trial is continuing. As I mentioned, closing arguments are happening right now, and we'll keep you updated on this.
Yes, we're past that. Past that. Still waiting patiently. Day 7. Okay, let's see here. So the trio were arrested 6 months after Botello Valadez went missing. Morano and Dykes were released on $500,000 bonds. But last Christmas, they simultaneously removed their GPS trackers and left the country, according to court records, as they do. They eventually turned up in Cambodia, where they were arrested by local police with help from the FBI. Sorry, Cambodia? That one's got me a little baffled. I mean, you hear of a lot of different things, but okay. Still waiting. Yeah. Jazzy versus the world. Each side will get 60 minutes. I hope they stream that. Me too, friend. It's really nice to be back on streaming again and hang out with you guys. I needed a little bit of normal. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear arguments on the 18th of January. Yes, that's for Richard Allen. You bet. She was living her best life, had a wife, a rapper boyfriend, tragic story. Marisela was a beautiful girl, rest in peace. You know, come on. 60-year-old woman, young, half decent looking guy. It was kind of a no-brainer that something like that was going to happen. You know, they're playing with fire, in my opinion. Guilty. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Cambodia. I mean, I don't know a hell of a lot about the country, but I don't think I've heard of a lot of, you know, the FBI's 100s heading to Cambodia before. For one woman to injure another woman like that, it's cold, it's very close, not overly rare for these crimes against women to another, but it's unusual unless they connected in some way. Sounds like pure jealousy. The 60-year-old was probably jealous over the 23-year-old who probably was young enough to be her granddaughter. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. Let's see here. So they're literally cutting their ankle monitors off. I thought for some reason that there was a way to prevent that from happening. Sheriff deputies didn't arrest the man, Shane James Jr., during an August encounter in which now he has been charged. Dropped for 2 of them. Let's take a look here for a second while we're waiting.
Records confirm what Fox 4 News reported Friday, that murder charges were dropped against 2 defendants in a deadly stabbing and cover-up. Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. The man at the center of the case, Charles Beltran, pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of tampering with evidence. In exchange, he testified Friday against co-defendant Lisa Dykes. She is on trial for the stabbing death of Marisela Botello in what prosecutors describe as a jealous rage. A third defendant, Nina Moreno, was the wife of Lisa Dykes, also had her murder charge dismissed. Prosecutors say Dykes...
What an unusual trio of people. In my mind, they just something seems wrong with the picture. Is that the way to say it?
Dykes committed the murder. Beltran and Moreno went along with the cover-up, and the 2 women eventually fled the country. Fox 4's Alex Boyer walks us through today's testimony. Alex.
Hi, Clarice. And today we learned a lot of the details surrounding the time when Dykes was on the run with her wife / co-defendant, Nina Morano. They were out on bond at the time. We learned that surveillance video at an ATM in Cambodia.
An ATV video in Cambodia. That's exactly what it is. Yep, 60-year-old jealous of young woman. Nope, not going to do well behind bars. They just happened to meet at the bar one night, and she was visiting from out of town. Just through one night stand by the seams of things. He was the safe one. Unreal.
Ultimately led to their arrest. An FBI special agent who was there for that arrest testified that the women had $6,000 in cash and that their visas were set to expire the next day.
The pin is installed in the bottom and they lock in place.
Julian Lapierre is with the Dallas County Pretrial Services Department. She supervised the house arrest of Lisa Dykes and her wife and co-defendant Nina Morano when they were fitted for ankle monitoring.
Whoa, now that's one cranky looking individual, that one. Not pretty, not hot. Yay.
Monitors upon bonding out of the Dallas County Jail in the spring of 2021. Lapierre said they followed the rules for months.
They were very compliant. They were very responsive.
But on Christmas morning, Lapierre said that all changed.
It appeared that their devices simultaneously were disabled.
Due to the long holiday weekend, Lapierre said it wasn't noticed until December 27th, 2 days
Oh
later.
my God. So what is that on holidays? So like they get to just go on a tour? How do they not notice when something like this happens? You would think that there would be some type of an alarm that would go off when inmates are out there cutting their ankle bracelets off.
Within a few hours, a judge issued warrants for their arrests, but Dykes and Morano were already out of the country. Airport records indicate they left the U.S. on Christmas Day and headed 9,000 miles away to Cambodia in Southeast Asia.
Individuals from the FBI Dallas office reached out to me and said that there were two individuals who were suspected of murder in the Dallas area.
Lisa Dykes is on trial for the murder of 20.
I got booted out for a second there, guys. Sorry about that. I looked over and you were all gone. My internet is still sketchy, so I'm hoping we can get through this. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay again? I'm waiting for another cord for our Starlink. It's saying that we've got one of the cords to the dish itself is messed up. So I hope that's what the problem is. Good. Thank you, Dandy. Thank you. Thank you, Trace. I've been home I got home the night before last, and I had no internet again yesterday. This morning, I was up at 3 in the morning trying to get some stuff done, and no internet until I can't remember what time. So when it kicks in, I'm excited, but I'm also a little scared at the same time. So what do you guys think with Richard Allen? Do you guys think that that judge is going to get sent down the river? I can't figure out. I don't know what I'm thinking right now about that case. Yes, he does, Maxie. Yes, he needs to get his poop in a group. See if they send us a reimbursement for like a week and a half. I don't know if it's the wind or if it's just because of the ice. Yeah, you don't get so much, do you? We've got probably about another 5, maybe 4 or 5 inches, I guess. When I was coming home, it was, the weather was so bad that the snow covered all the road signs, and I ended up not where I needed to be. And then I ran out of window washing fluid. And of course, all the semis go by, and it was like, oh my God. It's about a 3-hour drive, and it took me over 5. Do you guys travel anywhere for Christmas? Not a lot of snow. When I'm going and doing my my visiting, or what I do with family right now, I'm doing with family. There's a nice road that goes all along the foothills of the mountains. It's just beautiful. But yeah, I don't recommend doing that way with no windshield, wiper juice, and blowing snow. Hey, Tony, how you doing, friend? Welcome, welcome. We're waiting for court to come back. They were taking a recess, but I don't know. It's been quite some time. You didn't. Oh my God, Perry. How was that? I would be in my glory. That's pretty cool. One of my favorite places to study. Yeah, there's that too, isn't there? Roads aren't always the best with all those nutters driving around. School's shut, roads are blocked, and then another letter in the alphabet to name it. I'll just pause this lady again. Let's see if I can. Wonder what would ever in God's green earth convince a 60-year-old woman to attack a young girl like this. If jealousy will do that, what the hell? Like did she go after him or just her? Because it sounds like if the three of them were some kind of couple, maybe she should have been angry with him as well. But no, it sounds like instead they all just kind of packed her up and ditched her in the woods somewhere. Oh, is that movement? All righty. How come I'm not hearing anything?
We're ready.
All right.
You may proceed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, I apologize for the delay. We have been working diligently. Ms. Pittman, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state at this time has no further witnesses. We would like to resubmit our case in chief. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the jury is to rest its punishment.
All right, the court accepts your offer, and the jury is instructed that you may consider all of the evidence that was presented in the case in chief in the punishment phase. The state having rested, what says the defense in punishment?
Judge, the defense also just wants to re-urge the fact that we would like for the jury to be able to consider the testimony of Charles Beltran during the guilt defense phase, and that testimony be considered evidence in the punishment phase. And with that, Your Honor, defense will also rest.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm granting that request, and as the state resubmitted their evidence, you are and are instructed to reconsider Charles Beltran's testimony on direct and cross-examination in its entirety as evidence in the punishment phase.
Judge and Detective Ramirez's testimony as well.
All right, you will also consider Detective Ramirez's testimony in its entirety as well.
Thank you, Judge.
And the defense rests.
Yes, Your Honor.
What says the state?
The state closes, Your Honor.
Defense also closed, Judge.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you will now hear all of the testimony you're going to hear in the punishment phase of the trial. The court has prepared the two court's charges to the jury in both cases. I will now read those to you, and then we will have arguments of counsel. And I will give each side 20 minutes with a 2-minute warning. Court's charge to the jury, members of the jury. The defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, was found guilty by you of the offense of murder. The court received and accepted your verdict of guilty, and you will no longer concern yourselves with the innocence or guilt of the defendant. You will now limit your deliberations under all the law and the evidence in this case to the question of punishment, which is now your duty to assess. Sudden passion. Our law provides that at the punishment phase of the trial, where the jury determines the punishment to be assessed in the case, the defendant may raise the issue as to whether she caused the death of Marisela Botello Valadez under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause. Having found the defendant guilty of murder as charged in the indictment, and the said defendant having raised the issue as to whether she caused the death of Marisela Botello Valadez while she was under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, it now becomes your duty to decide such issue. The burden of proof on this issue is on the defendant. She must prove by a preponderance of the evidence that she caused the death of Marisela Botello Valadez while she was under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause. Adequate cause, as used herein, adequate cause, as used herein, means cause that would commonly produce a degree of anger, rage, resentment, or terror in a person of ordinary temper, sufficient to render the mind incapable of cool reflection. Sudden passion means passion directly caused by and arising out of provocation by the individual killed, or another acting with the person killed, which passion arises at the time of the offense and is not solely the result of a former provocation. Preponderance of the evidence means the greater weight of the credible testimony. Now, if you find and believe by preponderance of the evidence that the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, on or about the 5th day of October 2020 in Dallas County, Texas, caused the death of Marisela Botello Valadez while the defendant was under the immediate influence of a sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, you will answer the issue on the verdict page, yes. If you find and believe from the evidence that the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, did cause the death of Marisela Botello Valadez, but the defendant was not under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, or if you find the defendant has failed to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that she caused the death of Marisela Botello Valadez while under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, then you will answer the issue on the verdict page, no. The jury's answer on the sudden passion issue submitted must be unanimous, either yes or no. In the event you answer the issue submitted yes, that the defendant did cause the death of Marisela Botello Valadez while under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, then you will assess the defendant's punishment at confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for any term of not less than 2 years, nor more than 20 years. In addition, a fine may be imposed not to exceed $10,000. In the event that you answer, in the event you answer the issue submitted no, that the defendant did cause the death of Marisela Botello Valadez, but was not under the influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, you will assess the defendant's punishment at confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for any term of not less than 5 years, nor more than 99 years or life. In addition, a fine may be imposed not to exceed $10,000. The range of punishment. I'm going to remove this paragraph before I give the jury the instruction because that's superfluous on page 3. All right. Evidentiary instructions. You are instructed that in assessing the defendant's punishment, you may take into consideration all of the facts and evidence admitted before you in the full trial in this case, and the law submitted to you in this charge, and the charge heretofore given you by the court. extraneous offenses or other bad acts. You are instructed that if there is any testimony before you in this case regarding the defendant having committed offenses or bad acts other than the offense of which you found the defendant guilty, you may not consider such evidence unless you find and believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed such offenses or bad acts, if any. The burden is upon the prosecution to prove such extraneous offenses or bad acts beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution's proof must exclude all reasonable doubt concerning the extraneous offense or bad act. Therefore, if you find and believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed an extraneous offense or bad act, then you may consider such evidence in assessing the defendant's punishment. If you do not so find, or if you have a reasonable doubt as to whether the defendant committed an extraneous offense or bad act, then you may not consider such evidence, if any, in assessing punishment. Fifth Amendment right. Our law provides that a defendant may testify in her own behalf if she elects to do so. This, however, is a right accorded a defendant, and in the event she elects not to testify, that fact cannot be taken as a circumstance against her. In this case, the defendant has elected not to testify in the punishment phase, and you are instructed that you cannot and must not refer or allude to that fact throughout your deliberations or take it into consideration for any purpose whatsoever as a circumstance against her. Instruction regarding parole. The length of time for which a defendant is in prison may be reduced by the award of parole.
Yeah, this is very bizarre. I have no clue right now. I thought that we were going to hear the sentencing part and some testimony or just some family speaking out. This is not what I was expecting at all, but hey, here we go.
Under the law applicable in this case, if the defendant is sentenced to a term of imprisonment, the defendant will not become eligible for parole until the actual time served equals 1/2 of the sentence imposed, or 30 years, whichever is less. If the defendant is sentenced to a term of less than 4 years, the defendant must serve at least 2 years before the defendant is eligible for parole. Eligibility for parole does not guarantee that parole will be granted. It cannot accurately be predicted how parole law might be applied to this defendant is sentenced to a term of imprisonment because the application of the law will depend on decisions made by parole authorities. You may consider the existence of the parole law. You are not to consider the manner in which the parole law may be applied to this particular defendant. Conclusory instructions. You are further instructed that your verdict must be unanimous and shall be arrived at by due deliberation and not by drawing lots or any method of chance, nor shall you add any combination of figures and divide the answer thereto. You are the exclusive judges of the facts proved, the credibility of the witnesses, and the way to be given the testimony, but you are bound to receive the law from the court, which is herein given you, and be governed thereby. During your deliberations in this case, you must not consider, discuss, or relate any matters not in evidence before you, nor should you consider or mention any personal knowledge or information you may have about any fact or person connected in this case, which is not shown by the evidence. You are instructed that any statement of counsel made during the course of the trial or during argument not supported by the evidence, or statements of law made by counsel not in harmony with the law stated to you in the court in these instructions are to be wholly disregarded. You are instructed not to use any cellular device, smartphone, computer, or tablet during your deliberations. If you have a verdict, or if you wish to have a break, turn on the red light and the bailiff will quickly respond. It will be signed by me, Nancy Holder, at some point. All right. The next one. Court's charge to the jury. Members of the jury, By your verdict, you have found Lisa Jo Dykes, the defendant, guilty of the offense of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the indictment. The court has received and accepted your verdict of guilty, and you will no longer concern yourselves with the innocence or guilt of the defendant, and shall now limit your deliberations under all the law and evidence in this case to the question of punishment, which is now your duty to assess. Just notice the typo. The punishment for tampering with physical evidence is confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for a term of not more than 20 years nor less than 2 years. In addition, you may impose a fine not to exceed $10,000. You are further instructed that in determining the defendant's punishment, you may take into consideration all of the facts shown by the evidence submitted before you in the full trial of this case and the law submitted to you in this charge. The sentence that is assessed must be either served or probated.
So I'm not really sure. Do they get these jury instructions and then they go back into another deliberation? Is that how they work it there?
And the jury may not provide that a portion of a sentence be served and the balance probated. You are instructed that the court will determine the terms and conditions of community supervision, if any, and may, at any time during the period of community supervision, alter or modify those conditions. Fifth Amendment right. Our law provides that a defendant may testify in her own behalf if she elects to do so. This, however, is a right accorded a defendant, and in the event she elects not to testify, that fact cannot be taken as a circumstance against her. In this case, the defendant has elected not to testify in the punishment phase, and you are instructed that you cannot and must not refer or allude to that fact throughout your deliberations or take it into consideration for any purpose whatsoever as a circumstance against her. Community supervision. In this case, the defendant has filed an application in writing under oath stating that she has never before been convicted of a felony and has requested that the imposition of any sentence imposed be suspended and that she be placed on community supervision. Community supervision means the placement of a defendant by a court under a continuum of programs and sanctions with conditions imposed by the court for a specified period during which a sentence of imprisonment, fine, or imprisonment and fine is probated and the imposition of a sentence is suspended in whole or in part. Supervision officer means a person appointed or employed to supervise defendants placed on community supervision. Our law provides that if you find the defendant has never before been convicted of a felony in this case, in this or any other state, and you assess the defendant's punishment at confinement for a term of not more than 10 years, you may recommend that the defendant be granted community supervision. If you recommend in your verdict that the defendant be granted community supervision, then the law requires the court to place the defendant on community supervision. If the defendant is placed on community supervision, the court shall determine the conditions of community supervision and may, at any time during the period of supervision, alter or modify the conditions. The court may impose, but is not limited to, the following conditions. A, commit no offense against the laws of this state or any other state or of the United States. B, avoid injurious or vicious habits. C, report to community supervision and corrections department as directed by the judge or the community supervision officer and obey all rules and regulations of the community supervision and corrections department. D, permit the community supervision officer to visit her at her home or elsewhere. E, work faithfully at suitable employment as far as possible. F, remain within a specified place, to wit, Dallas County, Texas. G, pay the fine if one is assessed, and all court costs, whether a fine be assessed or not, in one or several sums, and make restitution or reparation in any sum that the court shall determine. H, support her dependents, if any. I, submit to testing for alcohol or controlled substances. J, submit to electronic monitoring. K, participate for a time specified by the court in any community-based program, including a community service work program. Whether you do or do not recommend community supervision for the defendant is a matter that rests within the sound discretion of the jury. However, if you do recommend community supervision, the court is required by law to follow the jury's recommendation. The parole law in this second jury charge is the same as in the first. The law regarding extraneous acts and the concluding instructions are also the same. And I did neglect to go over the verdict forms in the murder case. I will do that next. In the tampering with physical evidence case, the jury forms read as follows. We, the jury, having found the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the indictment, assess her punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for blank. There, your presiding juror will fill in a minimum of 2 years and any number up to, including 20 years. And there is an option, in addition thereto, assess a fine in the amount of anywhere from 0 but not to exceed $10,000. Or, we, the jury, having found the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the indictment, assess for punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for, and there's a blank for the presiding juror to put in a minimum of 2, but no more than 10 years. And we, the jury, having assessed the punishment of the defendant at not more than 10 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and having further found she has never been convicted of a felony, we do recommend that the imposition of her sentence be suspended and she be placed on community supervision.
I'm surprised at how many different options they've got for everything. I thought it was just like guilty, innocent. It actually, speaking the truth here, it really blows me away how different things are from state to state. This is totally foreign to any of the other cases that we've seen as far as the jury goes.
In addition thereto, we assess a fine in the amount of blank, anywhere from 0 up to $10,000. And there's a spot, we further recommend that the fine be, here you would put paid, probated, or not applicable. And there are spaces for the presiding juror to sign his or her name. Now, going back to the punishment verdict in the murder case, I'm going to go over the verdict forms with you. Verdict form on sudden passion. The first one reads, we, the jury, having heretofore found the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of the offense of murder as charged in the indictment, further find and believe by a preponderance of the evidence that the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, caused the death of Marisela Botello while the defendant was under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, and therefore unanimously answer the issue, yes. Or, we, the jury, having heretofore found the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of the offense of murder as charged in the indictment, do not find and believe by a preponderance of the evidence that the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, caused the death of Marisela Botello while the defendant was under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, and therefore unanimously answer the issue, no. The last verdict, is this the last one? No, okay, two more. All right. Verdict form, finding sudden passion. We, the jury, having heretofore found the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of the offense of murder as charged in the indictment, but further find from a preponderance of the evidence that such offense occurred while the defendant was under the immediate influence of passion arising from adequate cause, assess her punishment at blank, no more than 20 years or less than 10 years. Confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and a fine of anywhere from $0 to $10,000. Verdict form, finding no sudden passion. We, the jury, having heretofore found the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of the offense of murder as charged in the indictment, and not having found by a preponderance of the evidence that such offense occurred while the defendant was under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from adequate cause, assess her punishment at blank. Here you can put life or not more than 99 years or less than 5 years. Confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and a fine of blank anywhere from $0 to $10,000. Under each of these verdict forms is a place for the presiding juror to sign and print his or her name. I will make these corrections, and we will have arguments of counsel. Will the state open?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, before we really go in, you hear a whole lot. You're going to have these back there with you, these jury charges, right? That's a whole lot you just heard. And some of it, I don't think we covered nearly as much in jury selection. But we talked a lot about the punishment around having that tool bag, right? That's the way Texas law works. It provides jurors with a tool bag, and you've got a wide range. And the reason for that is we allow the jury to assess punishment and give you all the tools if you don't know anything. And that way you can go back there with every single tool available, right? The law allows things like sudden passion to come in whenever the defense requests it, and there's any evidence, whether it's credible or not. Okay? And we know it's not credible. Okay? So we'll be able to read back over that when I cover something on sudden passion, but I just really want to make sure that you understood the verdict forms. So when you put back to those verdict forms, when we're talking about the murder case, you have the sudden passion verdict forms first. Okay? You don't find sudden passion, you're going to skip right over that first part. You're going to say in that next part there, right there, no to sudden passion. Okay? Once you do that, come back to the very end, and that's where you're assessing punishment between 5 and 99 for life. Although there's a $10,000 fine that's optional, there's no need to worry about that. It doesn't go to the victim's family, it doesn't go to anybody like that. So there's no need to turn yourself with any kind of fine. Okay? But you have that full tool there if you need it. When we're talking about the tampering charge, again, it gets a little confusing because, like we talked about in jury selection, tampering is 2 years in prison up to 20 years in prison, and that if someone's never been convicted of a felony, now you've got probation as an option as well. You're not never get to probation in this case, but it's there as a tool to consider. And so you have one there on the first form. That's where you're going to stop. That's where, if you're just assessing prison time and not probation, that first page. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about sudden passion. We got brought up just briefly in jury selection, and not something I touched on really at all.
Yeah, he's not overly exciting, is he? You see some pretty boisterous lawyers out there. This guy definitely is not one of them.
It's not really a credible thing in this case, right? The key component here in sudden passion is adequate cause. You heard that read, right? It's cause that would commonly produce a degree of anger, rage, resentment, terror, and a person of ordinary temper. Right? You all, an ordinary person, sitting in this jury box, sufficient to render your mind incapable of court function. So apply that to this case. Someone of ordinary temper, you all, in their shoes, right? That you're married in an open marriage, in an open relationship with a boy toy that lives in another bedroom that you know is constantly out with other women, and that you go from your bedroom all the way to a kitchen, and you get a knife, and you come in while they're asleep and not doing a thing.
There's no evidence she ever moved to no kitchen.
Overall, the jury will recall the testimony as they heard it.
Maybe she sleeps holding a knife. Where'd she get the knife? She goes and gets a knife and comes in to two people asleep, climbs on top of one, and stabs her to death. Sudden passion is absolutely ridiculous and offensive. I think you all know that. We talk in jury selection. Why do we punish? I think I heard a lot of answers in this group. Not everyone. I know you all wrote it down. I know you all thought about it. Think about it again. Why? We talk in jury selection, right? Should a sentencing verdict on punishment take the victim into consideration? Why? And many of you said yes. You should. Now you understand why. That someone like Marisela Botello, nowadays, 23-year-old young woman, can take a brief vacation to Dallas, go out to Deep Ellum, and never make it home. A completely innocent person who had so much life to give, who had goals, who was working, who had a family that loved her, who will never see her again, who didn't even get a proper burial of their daughter. Why? Because on Post Oak Road in Wilmer, just south of Dallas, someone catching feral cats finds her skull because this defendant threw it out like trash. She had to be laid on an autopsy table like this. That's why we take that into consideration. Because that's what she was capable of doing. That's what Lisa Dykes did. And then on top of all of that, hoping that no one ever finds her, notice that when she gets in trouble, right, rushes, she sees her wife arrested, in Miami, takes off to Orlando, and texts her son Kyle, same one she tells, don't show up because of that subpoena. This is my burner. I'm turning off the other so it doesn't ping. Text Charles, love her, right? I'm trying to get the money off of Nina. I need to get out of here. Someone who's cold and calculated to the point that she gets the bond and tampers with that ELM to the point that it doesn't even send a tamper notice, had created an LLC, apply for a lost passport, and makes it all the way across the world. What is that worth? To do all of those things, what is that worth here in Dallas County? Ladies and gentlemen, I know you will go back there and do the right thing. No doubt that. This family deserves justice. This county deserves justice. Lisa Dykes deserves justice. Let's go back there and render justice.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, Mr. Garrett.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time to serve as jurors. Without you, the system does not work. Won't quarrel with your verdict. I understand you've made your decision, and because you've made your decision, you're still obligated to follow the law. Now, your decision was obviously made based on the testimony of Charles Beltran. You found him credible. You found what he said
Seems like this is going to go pretty fast. I wonder how long it'll take them to actually decide what punishment's going to be. I thought this would take a little bit longer.
About what happened to Marisela, credible. That this was a vicious murder that happened over in Mesquite. But more importantly, what he told you and what the detective said he told them, she was jealous, she was obsessed. That's the evidence that you believed. That's the evidence that you found credible from the witness stand, that this was a crime of passion. We submit to you it's sudden passion. Based on everything that you heard from Mr. Beltran, what did he tell you about her condition? Because you believe him. Now you have to apply the law to what he said, that this was a crime of rage. This was a crime of resentment. This was a crime of anger. That's what he told you. That's what led you to believe that she was a murderer. But the circumstance in which she caused that murder, again, because he's saying she's obsessed with him. And it's not just that once again, he has a girl in the house. She just spent all this money taking him and his friends to Arkansas for the show, paying for the band. She's had plastic surgery, facelifts. She's done all these things, according to him, because she's obsessed with him. She's jealous. That's what they're saying. This crime happened because she's jealous. That's what they've all said from the beginning. Now they want to run from it because the law says if there was an adequate cause, if they're based on resentment, anger, that's what he told you happened. That's what he told you. She was out of control to the state where he had to slam her up against the wall to shake her out of it. That's sudden passion. She's out of control. Anger, rage, resentment. How dare y'all be in here again? I just did all this for you. That's what he said. That's the evidence you found credible. It's sudden passion. That's sudden passion. The adequate cause is, again, everything that she did for him during that period of time. Everything that she was doing. The cars, the tattoos, all these things that she's doing, and you're still bringing women over here. So it wasn't just about the women, it's about everything that made her and all these other women that they drug in here obsessed with him. That's sudden passion. Told you, I never seen her act like that before. Never seen her act like that before. She doesn't have a history of violence. Never seen her act like that before. For some reason, she lost it that night. That's sudden passion. That's what you heard from the witness stand. Remember, after he slams her against the wall to shake her out of it, he says what? She was in a daze. She was in a daze. She's in a daze. What did I do? What have I done? That's sudden passion. That's our law. You can't disregard it just because they say you should disregard it. That's what they were going on. That was the whole theme of the case, that she did this old woman dealing with this young boy is now jealous because he continues to bring young women to her house where she's taking care of him. That's what this whole case was about. Now they want to run from it? Can't run from the law. She knows that now. You know that. It's right here. It's right here. And again, it's not about, we're in the punishment phase. It is about simply, it is about, punishment. But at the end of the day, you have to apply the law when you said it's credible. You said that Charles Beltran was credible when he gave the version, the final version that he gave. When the detectives told you that, he said she was jealous. He told you she was jealous. He went further to say, not just jealous, obsessed. Obsessed. Never seen her like that. Snap out of it. What did I do? That's sudden passion. And I'm going to ask, not even address the tampering. I mean, you said, see, because at the end of the day, You, as a juror, which we told you on board IR, you determine how much weight you give every evidence, you determine what's credible. Based on your verdict, you said that you believe that they tampered with the body. I'm moving forward with that, ladies and gentlemen. All I'm asking you to do is continue to follow the law. And the law and the evidence in this case dictate that this was a crime of passion, that it was sudden passion, something that she wouldn't ordinarily have done in her 60 years. It's sudden passion, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to ask that you find her guilty, or you've already found her guilty, but we're going to ask that you punish her in accordance with the jealous rage, the anger, the resentment that she displayed on the night this happened, based on the testimony that you have rendered credible from Mr. Beltran. And we thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Whoa, that was short and sweet.
You have 14 minutes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, there are some crimes that
I missed who they said this one was. I assumed there would be one from the prosecution and one from the defense. Who's she?
they're committed. They're so cold and callous in the nature and the way that they were committed, and so sinister in the character and human nature that was required to commit that crime, that it deserves a maximum punishment. A maximum punishment, and that in this case is life. I'm sure, I mean, there are hundreds of murders committed each year. And the way that Mr. Harris described the sudden passion law and tried to explain it to you is if you were angry and in a rage, you can kill someone and get less sentence. And that's just not the case. Read the actual sudden passion law, and it's very specific in its requirements. A cause that would commonly produce a degree of anger, rage, resentment, or terror in a person, right there, of ordinary temper. Of ordinary temper. Okay? Ms. Dykes is not a person of ordinary temper. Ms. Dykes found out in an open relationship that her wife slept with Mr. Beltran, already knowing that that had happened, and said, I'm going to make her my bitch. That's not a person of ordinary temper. Sufficient to render the mind incapable of cool reflection. As Mr. Brown pointed out, unless she is sleeping with a knife and always ready to commit murder, that's not what happened here. She was in her bedroom. I'm sure she heard Mr. Beltran, Chuck, Marisela come into the house, go into his room. I'm sure she heard the music, maybe some laughing, maybe some other things, and she waited that entire time until the noise was gone and there was no more music and she knew they were asleep, and she knew that was the time that she'd go in there and make her point to Chuck that he belonged to her. That's not sudden passion. So just put that out of your mind. As I said to you before, some crimes themselves are of such a sinister and cold nature that they deserve a maximum sentence of life. And then when you take into account this family over here and the pain and suffering that they had to go through every day, hoping, praying on their knees to God, please let her come home. Luis misses his big sister that was there for him, the one person in that household that was his age that he could talk to, that he could bounce stuff off, that taught him to achieve more, to strive harder, to graduate from school, to get yourself a degree or go to trade school, do something with yourself. She's gone because this woman right here wanted to be in control. Marisela never even met her. She never had a chance because she was asleep when she came in that room and stabbed her with that knife. That crime right there deserves life. But that's not even it. You heard her testifying guilt, innocence. Now, I didn't expect her to admit to anything. I knew that wasn't going to happen. But the callous nature with which she talked about Marisela, just like she was just anybody. Just a nobody. Just a nobody. And the fact that she sat up there, she's been manipulating people for years now. Manipulating the system, running, using her knowledge of the legal system, not for good, not to help, but to save her own self. And to watch her sit up there and try to manipulate you all and everyone else in this room and every member of the community that's watching this just tells you what kind of person Lisa Dykes is. That's the kind of person there is no rehabilitation for. There's no need for rehabilitation for Ms. Dykes. It's just not necessary. She had all the tools to do the right things in life and to lead a good life without murdering an innocent 22-year-old. Send her a message. Let her know. Let the citizens of Dallas County know, and that family, let them know with your verdict of life in prison what Marisela means and what her life means. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pittman. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will retire to consider your punishment verdicts in each case. I made this correction in reprinting the tampering with physical evidence punishment charge. I see that some of you have your notes. As you know, you need to leave them in your chairs before you go back and begin your deliberations in punishment. It is up to you to decide how long you wish to deliberate this evening as a group. And then our two alternates will, of course, have to wait in Judge Bennett's jury room. All right. You are now retired to consider your punishment verdict. All right. You can go ahead and take them. I'll hand them to you back there.
Well, that was interesting. This is the first time, I guess, that I've really sat through this part of any trial from Texas, because I vaguely remember seeing this kind of thing happen, but it definitely, my mind needed to be refreshed. I just was like, what? So yeah, now I guess we'll wait and see what happens. Will we find out what the penalty will be for her? What do you guys think she's going to get? Do you think they'll go to the top of the scale? I'm thinking so. So I'll keep my eyes peeled. And if they do happen to come back, I will come on and stream it for you. And if anybody else notices it and I miss it, this was in 2020 by the looks of it. So yeah, if anybody catches it before I do, feel free to shoot me a message. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I appreciate it. A whole damn bunch. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.